By the way, this isn't all of the stuff. I'm just hitting the highlights.
They're kind of in a sticky predicament, aren't they, really? Because if these dates are correct, let's just give them that for the, for argument's sake. Let's say these dates are correct. Yeah, this would prove that evolution isn't true, because look, we've got the turtle back there, and it's no different to the turtle we have today. We have fish back then and shrimp, which according to you is 127 million years old, to the same fish and shrimp we have today. We have lizards back then that are no different to the lizards we have today. We have herrings the same back then. We have dragonflies, which are found in 156 million years old rock, that are no different to the dragonflies we have today, and so on and so forth. There are countless of these fossils. So, if this date's right, this means that evolution isn't occurring, that slow changes are happening. Because why has evolution stopped for these animals? Is it just thought, oh, there's no need to evolve anymore? And 100 million years is plenty enough time for an animal to evolve and change.
Evolution is a religion based upon faith and assumptions that have nothing to do with science. Also, many of the lies that they use to support their theory have been disproven or shown to be fabricated or fraudulent. But they not only continue to teach these things that were disproved years ago, but these lies are still in the textbooks today, destroying the faith of millions of young Christians. Evolution is nothing but a religion based upon assumptions and not scientific facts. Evolution is a religious faith-based worldview. The reason why most of you probably believe in the theory of evolution is because since the age of 5 up until however old you are now, you've been constantly bombarded with this theory and indoctrinated. You have not heard or even seen any of the evidences that go against their theory, because whatever does not fit their theory of evolution is simply ignored and brushed underneath the carpet.
There are thousands of transitional fossils. We have thousands of evidence for it.
What?
There are thousands of transitional fossils. We have thousands of evidence for it.
What? I'm quite positive you meant to say.
There are thousands of transitional illustrations of the creatures. Thousands of transitional illustrated illustration. Thousands of transitional illustrations of the creatures. Simply search transitional fossil into Google search engine or any search engine you prefer. Search transitional fossil and you will find thousands of them.
The list of transitional fossils right here. So we click on that, and what do we find? We find the list of transitional fossils, and lo and behold, we have images, cartoon images, artist renditions, all through the page. Where will we find a real fossil? So far we're finding images and cartoons and drawings, black and white illustrations, more illustrations. On the Wikipedia page, just when I think it can't get any weirder, I click on this little creature. I want to get a good look of it. There it is. This is our ancestor. This is in the title page of fossil. This is found in list of transitional fossils. Fossils. And you want me to believe this? You want me to drink this up? Has no description. It has no relation, no status, hey Quitchthias, and appearance, hey, what the heck? We don't even have that. But let's click on its name, hey Quitchthias, and it leads us over to another artistic rendering. But we've got a movie about the hey Quitchthias. You can see the hey Quitchthias swimming, because now with the science advances in digital artistry, we're able to bring to life the imagination of the evolutionary scientists. Pokemon! Defenders of the world, walking with monsters. Pokemon now in digital high definition. You can go back in time and see the imagination of the evolutionary mindset. We don't have the fossils, we don't have empirical evidence, but we have high definition digital renderings.
What evidence will a loyal evolutionist believe regarding the evidence put forward by creationists? The answer is nothing. Not one thing. It doesn't matter what evidence the creationist provides, no matter how potent and empirical that evidence may be, because they have already got this preconceived idea that there is no designer and that evolution is scientific fact, when it is not. It is a theory and nothing but a religion. You see, it's not about the amount of scientific evidence you can provide for them. It's about their heart. They want to be free of God's moral law. They don't like His authority. The idea of them getting on their knees and asking God for forgiveness is abhorrent to some of these people. The heart rules the mind. You see, you can learn things in your mind, but if your heart is dedicated to it being not so, it doesn't matter what you learn, you're not going to accept it. This is very sad, but you know, it's the truth with all these atheists and evolutionists and Darwinists. You know, I've studied evolution intensively, virtually every night, sitting on my computer studying scientific sources, reading about what scientists had to say about this, that and the other. I studied biological evidence, abiogenesis, the fossil record, adaptation, natural selection, genetics, paleontology, anthropology.
No, it is a religion. There is not one bit of proof for it. Do you know what science says in the dictionary? Things we can test, observe and demonstrate. But you can't do that with evolution. It's just a fairy tale for grown-ups.
One, you don't know what science is. Science also includes the creations of theoretical models to explain the real world and deductive reasoning. For instance, like in the fields of forensics and other such things. Two, evolution has been fully shown. Even if the fossil record didn't exist.
What?
The fossil record didn't exist.
What?
You kids are going to be taught that each of the layers of the earth is a different age. They've got Cenozoic, Mesozoic, Paleozoic, Archaeozoic. Did you know the whole geologic column is baloney? It doesn't exist. We covered that on video 4. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting these rock layers. Petrified tree connecting a bunch of layers can't be millions of years difference in the age of those layers. One in Cookeville, Tennessee, not far from here. The bottom is coalified, the center is petrified, the top is coalified again. Runs through 2 coal seams.
Genetically, we have shown embryology, all kinds of other methods. We have shown evolution to exist.
What?
There hasn't been a transitional form found anywhere that links one animal to another. So why do you still believe that? And it's just common sense. Common sense.
Common sense is what you don't have, because you're lying to us on a medium where I can just go type into Google and realize that you're lying about the transitional fossils.
What? What?
It says the transitional forms are extremely rare. That is, if evolution is true, you ought to be able to find fossils of 90% reptile, 10% bird. 80% reptile, 20% bird. 70% reptile, 30% bird. 50% reptile, 50% bird, and so on. But he says this is extremely rare. In fact, the evolutionists can only point to a handful of very controversial fossils that are in the rock record. And as far as they go down, when they find a kangaroo, it looks like a kangaroo. It doesn't look like a part kangaroo. As far as they go down, they see a camel. It's a camel, not a part camel. Now that to me does not look like the evolution tree of life. It looks a lot like the creation forest of life. And Gould goes on in the article that I quoted to say that the two characteristics of the fossil record are abrupt appearance and stasis. That is, that the first time we see a creature appearing in the lowest rock formation that we find it, it appears fully formed, fully functional, fully recognizable. It just abruptly appears. And then as we come up through the rock records, as long as we see that creature, it basically stays the same. Oh, a little bit of variety, but it's basically the same creature.
Like we have an old population, and there's a split for some reason, and genetic changes happens, and then there's a new species that's no longer able to breed with the old species. We have physically observed that. Okay?
What?
We have physically observed new species evolving.
What?
All point mutations that have been studied on the molecular level turn out to reduce the genetic information and not to increase it. He even gives an example. He says, with this picture, no mutations have ever been observed that have converted an animal to a markedly different species, say from a fly to a wasp. I mean, that's not a very big change to go from a fly to a wasp. But he says we haven't even observed a mutation to make that kind of a change. You see, an amoeba has certain information in its DNA for making an amoeba, but it has no information for making legs, or hair, or a nose, or a stomach, or eyeballs. A horse has genetic information for making all of those parts, but an amoeba does not. So you cannot make a horse by taking the DNA information in an amoeba and just copying it over and over and making mistakes in the copying process as you go. You have to have new information added to the DNA molecule. I live in Cincinnati, and suppose I wanted to go on a train to Chicago. And so I take my trusty train schedule with me, and I go down to the Cincinnati train station. And I don't pay attention to any of the signs. I've got my trusty train schedule with me. And my train schedule says that the train to Chicago is on platform 14. So I walk to platform 14, get on the train. Unfortunately, there was a mutation in my train schedule. The train on platform 14 is not going to Chicago. It's going to Atlanta. The train that's going to Chicago is on platform 24. I'm on the wrong platform. It does not matter how slowly that train on platform 14 goes. It can move a centimeter a century, and it will never get me to Chicago, because it is going in the wrong direction. It's going downhill, and I need to be going uphill. Well, the train of natural selection and mutation is the train that the evolutionists say will take us from a single-celled creature all the way to all the diverse and complex plants and animals we see in the world, which would involve increased information. The problem is that the train of natural selection and mutation is going in the wrong direction. It's not going in the direction of increased information, it's going in the direction of decreased information.
We have witnessed new species happening. They're giving birth of something that can no longer breed with the original population.
What?
So it's a certain kind of change that evolution has in mind. And I like to call it vertical change. See, the evolutionists believe that the first living cell came into existence by chance, and then it diversified over time by mutations and natural selection into the first fish. And then some of those fish gradually over millions of years evolved into the first amphibians. And then those amphibians evolved into reptiles, and some of the reptiles evolved into birds, some of the reptiles evolved into mammals, and some of the mammals evolved into people. So it's vertical variation from one kind to a completely different kind of creature. The creation model is very different. The creationists say that there is horizontal variation. God created the first single-celled creatures, different kinds of single-celled creatures. He built into their genetic information the potential for variety within their kind, but not the ability to change into some other kind of creature. He created the first kind of fish, distinct, with the genetic potential for producing variety within that kind of fish, but not to change into a different kind of fish or to change into a non-fish. The same with amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, and people. God supernaturally created the first representative kinds with variety, potential for variety.
We have shown evolution to exist.
What?